Hey everyone, and welcome back to our DC Films podcast, episode 3. This week, the main topic of discussion is going to be, our thoughts on, Ben Affleck's Batman, as well as some bits of news that have come out in the last week or so. So, again, there's no linear structure to what we're going to be talking about today. So we're kind of just everyone wants to bring up what they want to bring up, and then we'll kind of just go from there. So, luckily everyone from the first episode is joining me back today, so if everyone wants to go around and reintroduce themselves to the podcast.
Alright, guess I'll go first. Hi, I'm Lily from Lily Loves Comics on Tumblr.
Hi, I'm Jean. I'm Badge Activity on Tumblr.
Hello, my name is Artyom. I am Great Kong Lao on Tumblr.
And I am Katie. I'm Story Advocate on Tumblr.
Alright, and thanks you guys again for doing this. I know just because, a couple of you live on other parts of the world, so it's kind of hard to get everyone's schedule synced up. Yeah, so like I said, this is going to be like a non-linear thing. So, before we get started officially, I know there's a couple things that Artyom wanted to bring up. If you want to go ahead and bring some of those things up, Artyom, you can.
I thought we might talk about how, people talk about that DCEU is not fun, but actually it's fun. It's not in your face kind of fun, but it's subtle kind of fun.
Yeah, it's different.
Yep.
The best example is when Superman and Lois, after their first kiss, he said when she says that they say that it's all down the hill after the first kiss, and Clark makes a pun about his alien heritage, saying that it works only when you're kissing a human. So,
that does.
I mean, that wasn't fun.
He's cute.
Yeah, he's adorable.
Yeah, and it's like you said, a lot of the fun or humorous moments in the DCEU they're subtle, and they're not in your face one-liner quips. I mean, Suicide Squad had more humor than Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman and Wonder Woman per se, but in each film, I also think the humor works for the most part, because it's not in your face. It's sort of and there are certain bits of Man of Steel, there's the one part where they're on top of one of the LexCorp buildings that's under construction, and Clark is knocked into a sign that says a bunch of days since an incident.
Oh yeah,
and then you look back at it, it says 0. So yeah, for me, the fun moments or the humorous moments, they're there. I think just people focus so much on what they don't like about it that they don't even think to look at the moments that are enjoyable or fun or humorous,
Yeah, but I think these movies, they generally have a serious tone, so even the humorous moments are played straight. There's no pause for laugh track or pause for audience laughter or heavily implied comic pause, in which the character delivers a comic line and then everyone laughs, or you just hold the camera for a bit too long so that that you're supposed to find it funny. Think about every line that Perry says. Perry White.
Oh, I love
Perry White
White
says in think about
Yeah,
every line that Perry White says in the Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition. Every single line he says is accompanied by a roast of Clark Kent. 9 out of 10 lines he says. It's beautiful, but it's played straight. So if you're paying attention, that it's hilarious. But if you're just watching it and you're not paying attention, it's not immediately evident.
You're gonna miss it.
A joke.
Yep. Yeah. That is actually the number one mistake that we learned in drama class, ages and ages and ages ago, was don't say a line as if it's funny and wait for the audience to laugh. You have to play it natural, because if you think it's funny, it's not going to be funny. And so I agree with you. The fact that it's just kind of understated and just there is what makes it natural comedy. They're not making a joke and then turning to the camera you get it? Because it's not that kind of comedy. It's just a straight up, it's funny because of what he's saying, it's a bullet. You shoot people with it, that's hilarious to me. I love that kind of sarcasm. Yes. And they're playing it very natural. It just exists there, which is really nice for me. And I think I've mentioned this before, so I don't want to go on and on, but it doesn't trample on the dramatic moments that are naturally supposed to be there. And I really appreciate that, because you really, really need to know when the time for a zingy one-liner is and when it's really not. And I do feel like DC has a handle on that.
Okay, there's a phenomenon that arose from Marvel movies in myself that I noticed, and I feel the need to tell people about this, which is that when I was watching Moana, right, I noticed this thing in which every time an emotional or tense moment came up, I would be expecting there to be a sudden appearance of a bad joke to break the moment. I just kept anticipating that every time there was like a tense or emotional moment, someone would have to make a bad joke to break the moment, like self-deprecating humor, because like clearly superhero movies can't take themselves seriously.
Yep. Okay, so in Moana, did you find that happening, or did you expect it and find it not happening?
Like in Moana, only maybe once or twice near the beginning of the movie.
Okay.
But like, I do love it when movies like do take themselves seriously. They go all the way. They go all out. Like, whereas something like Marvel movies, like every single moment, you know, has to be punctured by a joke. You know, somebody, if someone's emotional, another character has to make a joke about how they're emotional. You know.
And I agree with that. And I do think in Moana, it's probably something more of an. They're very aware of that. They make the comedy toward the front end because it does engage you and it does draw you in, and it does help break a moment, like when she's at the top of before they jump into where the crab is, you know, the region of monsters, and she says the sea chose you for a reason. There's kind of this dramatic pause, and he's like, if you start singing, I'm gonna throw up. You know, that's funny. You know, but later when things get more serious, they don't try to inject the joke, because now they've got you at your attention, or if they don't, they're not going to have it by now. And things are getting more serious, and it's just not the time for jokes. This is the time for seriousness. There's a lot going on. There's a lot at stake, and things are getting bad. And that's not when you just slap in a joke. And so I agree with you. I like the way they handled that.
Yeah.
And one thing I want to bring up too is, like, if you look at like even some of the most dramatic movies of all time, like I recently, just a couple weeks ago, watched the Harrison Ford movie The Fugitive for the first time.
Oh, that's a good one.
And that's a fantastic movie. And it's super serious, but then there's moments of like levity and subtle humor in Tommy Lee Jones's character. And you know, and then like, and no one knocks the movie for being so serious because it's a drama. That's what I'm saying. Like, because the comic book movie is a genre now, I don't understand why we aren't allowed to have dramatic stories in this genre, because there's so many subgenres within comic book movies. You have like in the MCU, you have like heist movies and political thrillers and all this stuff. And in the DCEU, it's kind of starting to do that, where like Wonder Woman was like a somewhat of a war movie. So like, I don't understand why the problem is like, why do comic book movies have to have so much humor in them? Like, why can't they be taken seriously? Like The Dark Knight, one of the best comic book movies ever made. It's one of the most darkest and serious movies like of the genre, and why is that the problem to go back to that?
Unfolded like a crime drama, you know. And so I agree. You know, I think the biggest problem is that humans, again, they resist change, and we seem to get it in our head that when it's done one way and we enjoyed it, well, that must be it. That must be the successful way. And we kind of have a hard time opening our brains to the idea that there's many, many different facets of approach to this, and just because one worked doesn't mean they all should be that way ad infinitum. And it falls. I've seen it happen in other genres that are not comic book genres. I've seen it happen in web series and all sorts of weird things, where people, once they get their hands on what they call the original, or what was their first experience with it, they don't want to change from that. And it's frustrating, because you're right. It's like you're ignoring all the wonderful beauty that, you know, could be happening. Like, did anybody ever see that tiny little Pixar short that they put out ages ago about it's the guy and the watch, like he was riding on like a stagecoach with his dad, and they got robbed, and he was trying to pull his dad up off the cliff with the shotgun, and accidentally pulls the trigger. Like, that is a really dark heavy short. I mean, that's like, what the frick? And their entire point was, look, animated can be dramatic. You know, animated can be more than just fun, cutesy talking animals and princesses and, you know, and stuff like that. There can be more to this. And yet they have to do it in this tiny little short and kind of put it out there. And even now, half the people, if I brought it up, they'd be like, what? You know, they've never seen it. Because what we picture cartoons as what they are. We want them to be, you know, princessy and have little talking animals and be funny and be cute and happy and everything's all good. Yeah, and that's good, except that that's not all we can have.
Right.
And so, there's plenty of other animation. It doesn't fit that style, but it's not mainstream. And it just blows my mind when I hear, like, people saying, well, I took my kid to that, and I felt like it was too much for them. It was quite offensive, and it was like, you did realize it was PG-13, right? But it's a cartoon. It should be G. You got to look at the rating, guys. It's not, that doesn't automatically mean that it's going to be perfect for your 5-year-old. And so, I don't know. It's a very strange mindset, and I do wish we could kind of, educate or help the rest of the world understand that there doesn't have to be just one way to do this.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny,
especially, ironically, current Marvel comic books, they're nothing like MCU. There is some serious and heavy stuff that is brought up right now. Even the Civil War arc, the first one, wasn't the way that it was portrayed in the MCU. And I don't know why MCU doesn't want to be more like its source material. It would be better. And it will be a positive change, I think, to the current MCU if they change the tone, if they show that they also can take themselves seriously, like with Logan, even though it's not MCU but it's Marvel. I think they might find even a wider audience to enjoy their movies.
I mean, I read something recently that said the reason why Marvel movies cultivate the kind of culture that they do in their movies, right, in which everything isn't taken seriously, is because they're still perpetuating the idea that it's uncool to like superheroes, even though the movie is about superheroes in itself. The entire Marvel movie, the superhero Marvel movie, is all constructed in a way that says, oh, it's great that you're a superhero as long as you can laugh at the fact of how stupid you look. But whereas the DC movies just pretty much go, okay, he is in a skin tight unitard, but
they don't joke about it.
Yeah, look at those muscles,
But like the DCEU just like takes the fact that they are superheroes 100% seriously.
And they embrace it,
He is totally a man who goes. He's totally a Batman who like wears a skin tight suit to go and punch criminals at night. But he has legitimate reasons for it. Like, let's explore why he does it. And like, of course he looks weird, but you know what? He is also cool. He's also Batman while doing
and terrifying
it.
too.
So,
yeah, he's terrifying.
So they play it straight, they take it seriously, and they actually explore, like, if I'm dressing up in a suit, why am I doing this? Like, for Superman, I love the fact that they made like his suit part of his culture, so that it's actually a piece, like a significant piece of him, rather than just like something that they can glamorize and mock the way they do it in Marvel movies. They'll try and downplay the fact that he's wearing a costume, like, maybe it's in like, even for the X-Men movies, like Logan, who never gets to wear his costume, Hawkeye, who in the comics like has the most ridiculous costumes, like he never gets to wear a ridiculous costume because because like if he was in DCEU, like maybe his costume wouldn't be exactly as ridiculous as it is in the comics, but like at least they give him a costume, look at Suicide Squad, look at like the way the Joker and Harley are dressed. Get like Katana, those look exactly like they are in the comics. They might play it down because it's a bit unrealistic sometimes. Like, have you seen some of the things Harley wears in the comics? Like, no, you can't. It wouldn't stay up. But they try. They get pretty close.
Yeah,
and
even if you look at Suicide Squad, there's that one scene where they show Harley in her original costume.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that.
They play it straight. They might acknowledge that. Like the costumes in the comics are not like 100% practical, but they do like pay homage to the original costumes. They do respect that like these characters, we dress them up this way for a reason. Batman dresses that way because it's so iconic. We're going to dress them up 100% that way. Think about like the Wonder Woman costume. They could totally have put her in pants or something. Like if she were in Marvel, she would not be in a Gladiator miniskirt. think about it. Like they wouldn't have just gone all the way and let her win.
That's true.
But you're right. But it's wonderful.
They have given her like a full body suit or something.
Yeah. But it harkens back to her Amazonian culture, and I agree with you. That's one of the things I like best is that they make them kind of grounded in where exactly would some costume that they would wear come from. Well, okay, she's Amazonian. It's okay. We're gonna go with that Greek, and Roman pleated, or leather pieces, skirt. Oh, look, armor on top. Even like Aquaman is different than he is in the comics, but he's got a really, really tricked out suit. Now, bet you money it'll be something about the fact that their culture considers this normal dress or battle dress or any kind of thing. It will be related to his culture, and I love that. I really do, because it's not just like, hey, I'm going to put on a suit and look cool, and I'm just gonna, I'm naturally adapting from what my culture has, and I love that.
And that's one of the things I loved about the DCEU too, is that I feel like when you're looking at Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman, their costumes and they're obviously very much so the kind of costumes that you see in the comics, but they're updated to, first of all, be realistic and practical. But also, again, you're looking essentially for me, I look at Wonder Woman and I'm like, that's stepping straight out of the comics. She's not wearing underwear in some interpretation. She looks like a warrior. And if you look at Batman, his suit in Batman vs Superman is honestly probably the most comic book accurate Batman suit we've had in decades.
Compared to Dark Knight.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, compared to anyone that I can imagine seeing in Hollywood, they all were very glamorized to a degree, and his is very, very comic appropriate, and it looks how do I say it? It looks battle scarred. Even if the texture that they gave it, even if that's not actual battle scarring, it gives the appearance that it is, that it's old, that it's worn, that it's seen a lot of action, and that it has the marks to prove it. And that's just, again, it gives you that whole idea.
All those details.
He's been doing this for 20 years, all those details. It's
funny. I remember reading a while back that Wonder Woman's armor, the red in it is all blood. Blood of enemies. That's. I mean, I don't know if I think some producer or someone said that. I'm like, that's pretty gruesome.
I would have never thought of it that way.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, obviously, it's had history before she wore it, because in the movie it was not like it was always hers. She kind of took it from the
You're right.
Tower.
You're right.
But I mean, that's another thing too. Even if you look at her armor, in Wonder Woman or Batman vs Superman, you can see there's also scarring there, that there is history to it. And even looking at Superman's suit, just looking at especially in Batman vs Superman, where they updated it a little bit, where they added Kryptonian text within the
the Joseph Campbell quotes, right?
That was my favorite.
I gotta say, Michael Wilkinson is a true gift to the DCEU in terms of costume design.
Yes,
he is.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But also this whole Zack Snyder. Okay, I'm sorry. This is the complete tangent here, in which I need to explain how Zack Snyder is completely obsessed with Joseph Campbell's monomyth, The Hero's Journey.
Yes.
When you were saying about how the Superman suit got updated, and in Batman v Superman, his suit contains a quotation from Joseph Campbell, and so Wonder Woman's I think her sword also includes another Campbell quote.
Yes.
And if you actually look at Superman's character arc is The Hero's Journey, and if you look at all his other works, he incorporates so much of The Hero's Journey into all his different works. He just he takes that really, really seriously, rather than and I do appreciate that he puts in so much effort into the arcs of the character, and how they're growing over the course of several movies, rather than just stagnating them or keeping it very simplistic.
Yeah. And this is a conversation I feel like we've had a few times, especially with Katie and I. Zack expects more from his audience. He's not exactly expecting casual fans to be looking at every detail of his suits, but the amount of effort he puts into these movies
kind of fans
shows that
Yeah, but it's there for those who want to look for more stuff.
Yeah, and he gives us something more to talk, more to look at, and more to talk about. And he's it's not I don't want to make this whole episode a thing about criticizing the MCU, but the MCU, I feel like there's not as much detail, like in MCU, like yeah, there's like Easter eggs and stuff like that, but like with the DCEU, there's so much attention to detail, and like even like if you look at like in Wonder Woman, like the Wayne Enterprises armored truck that was there, the license plate like was in reference to an issue of Justice League from the comics.
Yeah, I can appreciate all that.
Yeah, and
I
then
love
I
all
do.
that.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
Well, and it's just stuff that, you're right, like an average person watching the film, you know, doesn't really need that, you know, except that they might notice some extra things and be like, wow, what a full world, that's cool. You know, look at all those extra details, that's great, even if they don't know what the details mean. And then they're the geeks, you know, get something amazing out of it.
Yeah.
And it comes down to, like, when you're making something, do you just pick a random detail just to shove it in there, just to make, you know, the picture whole because, well, we need a license plate number, just slap that on there, you know, or do you actually think about it and go, okay, let's give this a meaning, let's give this a little bit of something and put some actual thought to it because that's just fun, you know. And it's just, I don't know, to me it really spells a lot of quality, a lot of time and attention given to details, and not just slapping it together because we got a mega movie that's got to make $1 million and let's just keep going. You know, it's a matter of, okay, I want this to stand, and I want it to be detailed, and I want it to have as much as I can possibly put into it. That's a lot of care and time and dedication, and I always appreciate that because I would want to approach a work.
Yeah,
like
they obviously enjoy what they're doing, so they put all that stuff in, which is really cool.
I guess the best way to describe Zack Snyder is that he's a fan himself. He's also a geek, and he's like, you know, I have a story to tell, a visual story to tell, and I hope the rest of the world will enjoy it. He has his own vision to share, and he just hopes that some people will also like it. He doesn't make, maybe in some way he does, makes this stuff for us, but I think first of all, he just enjoys all of this because he's a fan himself of what.
Yeah, like Zack always says in his interviews, like in past interviews, is that he himself is a fan and he always creates content that he himself would enjoy as a fan. So you can tell the kind of fan that he is. He's the kind of fan that we are. You know, he likes to like take apart things and put in analysis, put in references to like previous comics, put in like different different monomyths and different like literary devices and such, and he puts all that into a movie. And maybe I think it is possible that like he sometimes goes a bit overboard in what he expects from his audience, like in terms of like accessibility to general audiences, because he just over encode some things, you know. Like if you try and watch Batman v Superman, I can understand why on the surface it'd be quite difficult to understand what's going on because there's so many different things happening at once and there's so much to follow. So on the surface level it might be a bit difficult to understand, but that's the whole point, right? He expects so much of his audience because he expects all his audience to be the kind of dedicated fans like who will take apart the movie. Because if you look at Batman v Superman, you could pause every single scene like nearly every 10 seconds apart and pick something out that wasn't obvious. You know,
right?
And like he put so much care into it and packs so much detail. It's such a gold mine of a movie, but like on the surface it might be a bit too, there might be too many things going on in one scene for like a casual viewer to just pick up on.
Well, you know, they're not supposed to pick up on everything, but I think that just sitting down as a casual viewer and watching the plot line, people should still be able to follow that. And if they're frustrated that there's too many plot lines happening all at the same time, it's kind of like, no offense, but have you ever read a big involved book that has multiple plot lines that weave together at the end? Because there's lots of them out there. And have you seen a film that does this before?
Have you read
seems to be like
book?
They just kind of, it's a comic book movie, so it'll just be simple. But, you know, great films and great novels work like this all the time. It's not unheard of. And I will say, every member of my family that I have sat down in front of this movie, and there have been a lot of them, you know, I'm like, you're going to watch this with me, you know, like, have come out going, wow, that is really, really cool. And only one of them said they didn't understand it, and that's because he went to see it at the theater, got stuck in the very front row, and had a really difficult time, which makes total sense. That front row makes it a bear to understand anything that's going on, because you can barely see the picture. And the way Zack goes in a visual nature, I'm sure that completely messed him up. So then, of course, it was like, well, now you're going to sit down and watch this with me, slapped in a video. And he's like, oh, yeah, that makes way more sense. And it was, okay, good, So, I don't know, but like my family members and the people I sit down and watch and stuff like that aren't people like me who want to tear everything apart and get it all the layers. I love this stuff, but not everybody does, and that's okay. But they still watched it and went, oh yeah, I see what he's doing, and I see what the plot line is. Cool. And then they walk out going, yeah, that's good. I like that. I just it makes me sad that people seem to walk in and go, all right, comic book movie. I don't have to pay much attention. I just laugh at the one-liners, and it's like, there's more to that, guys. There's so much more we could have.
Yeah, it's funny because it was like the third. No, it was the third or fourth time that I sat down and watched Batman vs Superman. I was with my family because my parents and my little brother and I were visiting my sister and my brother-in-law in Seattle. And we were there for a week, so one of the days, like, my sister had to work, and then my brother-in-law was at work, so we had the day to just go do something, and there was a movie theater literally right down the street from my sister's apartment where we were staying, and we were going through all the movies that were out at the time, and nothing was really wowing my parents, and of course my brother and I, because I had already taken my brother to see Batman vs Superman at that point, and he loves it, and he's like a 11-year-old kid, and he gets it. And it's funny because we were trying to find a movie to watch, and then we're like, my family was like, oh, okay, fine, we'll see Batman vs Superman. Of course, my brother and I are like, yes. So we were sitting there watching it, and then after the movie, my dad and my stepmom were both like, oh, that was good, that was all right. I mean, it's funny because throughout the entire movie, my dad was asking me questions like, okay, what's that? Is that a dream? Like, what's going on? Like my dad was so curious, and my dad's the type of guy, like, I mean, he likes like a lot of movies, but he's more of like he is like a general movie person, like he likes Marvel movies because they're funny, and he likes very like simplistic stories. And I'm not saying that like my dad's like dumb or anything. That's just those are the kind of movies
he doesn't enjoy tearing things apart like we do. That's totally fair.
Yeah, and
it's fine. Everyone's different.
Batman vs Superman, and like granted, like he doesn't like love the movie like I do, but like throughout the entire movie, like he's asking these questions. He's like wondering what's going on. He's curious about it, and like. And again, he doesn't have to love the movie, but at least he's trying to understand what's going on. He's like, oh, this is just too much. This is just too much. I can't get it. Like he's like, and again, he's just a general audience member, just asking questions about a movie because he's following along and he's trying to understand. And that's why if you try hard enough, it's not. First of all, it's not that hard at all. If you put in a little effort into paying attention to these movies, I feel like it's quite easy for you to follow along.
Yeah.
Like, I know that, like, Batman vs. Superman is a dense film, but if you put in the effort, I think you'll be rewarded with what you're going to get on the screen.
I think the biggest thing it comes down to is that now, unfortunately, because the media has latched onto this, and they want clicks, and, and there is a rivalry going, because people just can't seem to stop pitting one thing against another to compare and make better or worse. Like, there is, and I have seen it since Man of Steel, this bandwagon effect, where it's like, oh, okay, so this is the franchise that everybody craps on. Okay, cool. And so they go in with that mindset, and when you go in with that mindset, you will never walk out liking that film. Because you're walking in looking for things to pick on, looking for things to make fun of, looking for things to compare and show how yours is better. So when that bias exists, you will never come out and go, actually, that was really good. You never will, because your mind is made up before you get there. Yeah. And that's the biggest thing that I wish people would just stop it. Please don't make up your mind before you get there. Just go in and sit down.
Exactly.
Just let them lay out in front of you what they got. You can decide after if you liked it or not. You're still allowed to not like it, but don't decide you don't before you get there. Like, that's just a waste of your money.
That's so sad.
So, yeah.
So people go in there and just tear stuff apart without...
I don't know. I don't like being like that because I don't know. I don't like being overly negative, but even then it's just like, really? That's like, I'd much rather just sit down and go, okay, show me what you got, man, and afterward I'll be like, well, that wasn't the best. I didn't like what you got, but yeah.
But at least you're giving it a shot. You're not going in being like, oh, this is going to suck or this is going to be awful, you know? Like, it's funny because I just told the story last week in last week's podcast of how, like, I grew up loving the Christopher Reeve movies, and Superman Returns was my exposure to Superman. That movie was what got me into the character. And looking back, it's not the best Superman movie or best movie in general, but like I still enjoyed it enough then of course I've seen every episode of Smallville. You know, I've seen the animated Superman show and Justice League and stuff like that. And I was able to walk into Man of Steel being like, you know, I'm excited for this as a Superman fan, as a comic book fan. Let's see what Zack has to offer me. I'm going to leave my expectations at the door and see what he has to offer. And I loved the movie. But so many people walk into these movies with the previous interpretation in mind, with this one being, you know, Christopher Reeve. And a lot of people went in wanting to see Christopher Reeve again. And it's like, well, you guys had that movie in Superman Returns, and hardly anyone saw it. And then those of you who did see it didn't love it. So that's why they changed and went in this direction. If you wanted the Christopher Reeve, you should have supported Superman Returns. And now that you're not getting it, now you're throwing a hissy fit saying that this isn't your Superman. Well, you never gave it a chance.
Exactly. People are never pleased with anything.
Yeah.
I think it's important to take a movie on the terms that it wants. You know, like if you take a movie like Man of Steel or Batman v Superman, you have to take it as a serious movie. You know, it wants to be a serious movie. That's what the director intended. Whereas, like, if you just go into a movie with its expectations of like what the genre is going to be, obviously you're going to be disappointed. You know, you can't go into every single movie you watch with that expectation of what it's going to be. You know, if you think, oh, Superman has to be Christopher Reeve, you know, you have to fulfill all these tropes, or else it's not a Superman movie. And obviously it's not gonna live up to your expectations, because that's not what Zack Snyder's trying to do. He's trying to do something very different. So, you know, if you like a movie or not, but assess whether or not it's good by seeing whether it fulfills what it set out to do, rather than what you expect it to do.
Yeah, about what Nick started, that people wanted to see another Christopher Reeve movie, and this is the major problem with fans of Marvel regarding DC. Is just they want to see DC be Marvel 2.0, and I don't get it. Why people want one thing to look exactly like the other thing? Why don't let it be unique, have a unique sense of itself, and enjoy the variety of the superhero movies that these two universes can offer? And this is the same thing. Like we already had Christopher Reeve Superman. Why can't we have another one that is played by Henry Cavill? I just don't get it, to be honest.
Agreed.
Yeah, And it is, of course, as a DCEU fan, this is stuff that like we've talked about at length so much in the past. It's just like not even like in this podcast, but like so much.
It's very frustrating.
Yeah, and it sucks, and I don't think it's ever gonna die, because even if Justice League is loved, and if every other DCEU movie is loved from this point on, people are still gonna trash the these previous movies. And it's never gonna end, because maybe like 30
awful.
years from now, when the universe is over and people, I don't know. Like I personally think that these movies are gonna age better than I think most Marvel movies, because I feel like
definitely.
As someone who used to love the Marvel movies, like I like the Marvel movies are slowly starting to become forgettable, except for the ones that I really enjoyed, like Winter Soldier and like the first Avengers and stuff like that. But even then, like the first Avengers movies, I'm already starting to kind of forget what those were about, because it's been a while and all that stuff. I think with Batman vs Superman, of course, as fans, you know, we watch this stuff over and over again and analyze it. But I think in the long run, stories like these are gonna matter more in the long run, because their messages like transcend the current times. You know?
Yeah. Yep.
And also rewatchable. For me. Like rewatchability. Like just think, like Man of Steel alone, I have saved it on my computer, and I probably watched it like 20 times, because there's like just so much material, there's so much meaning in it. It's such an experience to watch it every time. Whereas like Marvel movies, like you get what's on the surface, and that's pretty much all there is. You know, you can watch it a few times to laugh at the jokes maybe, but like I don't know, it's ultimately just really forgettable, and it's not really compelling to like watch it again and again.
I think like some critic somewhere, millions of them, after Batman vs Superman came out, said that they didn't think it had any heart, and that just really stuck with me, because it was like, really, like for me it feels exactly the opposite of that, and Marvel is what feels like it doesn't have any heart, because it does have a kind of a basic, you know, emotional overlay on the top. and everything, and it's nice, but it's not as deep, it's not as complex, and it doesn't move me. And these movies are what, besides analyzing and pulling apart for all the details, which is great, sometimes I just want to sit down and just watch that movie again and relive that emotional experience I had the first time. And it's a beautiful thing, and I could still do that. It never gets old. I still want to sit down and watch Clark go on his journey and discover who he is, discover his heritage, take flight for the first time, and then defend our, the Earth against his own people. I still want to see Batman lose his way and then find it again. I still want to see Clark question and doubt and wonder if what he's doing is okay, even though it seems to come out wrong every time, and then come out in the end to decide that it's worth it. I still want to see Wonder Woman step away and then come back and go, yeah, no, we're doing this, I still want to see all these beautiful things, because they moved me the first time around so much that effect is still there. It's really weird. And I watched Avengers a couple different times when it came out, because I really enjoyed it. It was good, but it still didn't have the kind of deep down
it was missing something.
Yeah, okay, I'm going back to drama a lot, but I haven't done drama in ages. But when I was in college for it, we took a Shakespeare class, and my teacher, she's like, people think that Shakespeare is all about soliloquies and getting up for the audience and doing all these big monologues, and it's all in your head. It's not. Shakespeare's in your gut. We're all looking at her like, okay. And she's like, no, seriously, Shakespeare is in your gut. You feel it, and it's visceral. It's all about revenge and love and hate and greed and everything, all that kind of deep emotion that's deep-seated and really deep down in you. It's not superficial at all. And we're all like, oh, she kind of blew my mind with that. Then we did all sorts of, practices and exercise and dramatic geek stuff that, I won't repeat here. But, that stuck with me because she's right. And so I continually keep coming out with, but this is like Shakespeare, guys, when people want to bash on my universe, because it's like, this is that visceral for me, where I get that kind of emotional reaction, and I want to do that again. It's just, I don't know. It does stick with me longer, and I agree that I feel like they're going to last longer, at least for me, because they get that kind of a deep, complex, visceral reaction, which the other ones just don't. And it's not that they're doing anything wrong. It's just that they don't hit me that way. So, yeah, I think they're going to last longer. For me, I'll watch those DVDs until they die, and then I'll buy new ones. So,
yes.
Yeah. And that's why, again, what we're...
I guess... MCU is, but I think the interpretation of MCU, it's a Disney park. It's an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
But DCEU, it's like a comic book, where book is the key word. Sometimes you might to read it a few times more in order to get everything that is in there.
Yes.
But MCU is exactly like literally a Disney park. You took a ride, you enjoyed it, but that's pretty much it. There is.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, then that's
no offense to MCU. I love the MCU, but you know that you get the difference.
Yeah. Yeah, we all get it.
Oh yeah.
and that's why I'm looking forward so much to these upcoming movies like Aquaman and Matt Reeves' Batman, because these are filmmakers who have a very distinct type of storytelling. And if you look at James Wan's films, I've seen his Conjuring movies.
I love those movies.
Me too, because I think those movies are they got me back into liking horror movies. Because before I'm ugh. Anytime I saw a horror movie, I'm okay. I know where the scares are coming.
Blood, death, more blood, gore.
Yeah, and but James Wan did so much more than that in his Conjuring movies. That's why I was so he wasn't, I would say, the most conventional choice for Aquaman, but I think he's gonna do the character right, because he's gonna give us a visually stunning look at Atlantis and Aquaman's character and his supporting characters. And I think that we're gonna get another great DC film. And then also looking at Matt Reeves, a guy who I've only ever seen Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, but I think that is a fantastic movie, and I'm hearing nothing but good things about the War for the Planet of the Apes. And that's why he made those comments the other day talking about how he wants to make a dark detective noir Batman film, and that makes me so excited.
I know. What?
I was oh my god.
like, and it's funny because, like, you know, Matt Reeves, of course, I loved him for Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, so of course, like, we were all a little upset and taken aback when Ben said that he was stepping down as director.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And, you know, it sucked, but at the time, you know, there was so much drama going on with the press and everyone going against Ben. He's like, saying, like, oh, when are you going to start production? When are you going to do this? When are you going to do that? And at the time...
So much pressure.
Yeah, and Ben was just trying to promote Live by Night, and he was dealing with his own personal stuff, you know, because, you know, he had checked himself into, you know, into rehab or alcohol or whatever, because he was going through a lot. And for me, like, as a fan, like, I like, especially when it came out after why he stepped down, like, I personally loved that he was able to step down and be like, you know what, I'm still going to do this role. Someone else is going to take the reins, but I'm still all in. Like, I just need the time to take it for myself, because, you know, he went through a lot, and not just with the press, but with his personal life. And that's why, like, I'm never gonna bash him for stepping down, because he had much like with Zack Snyder, like they're both dealt with a lot of personal things that a lot of people deal with and they have to deal with, but because they're celebrities and they're in the public eye, that it's so easy for us to criticize them and say, like, oh, see, this is why the DCEU is doomed to fail, because all these people are leaving and there's all this drama.
Oh yeah, that drives me crazy.
There's a lot of again, people have lives beyond these movies.
Yes.
Yeah, and
yes, they do.
It sucks because, like, no one deserves the amount of the DCEU and everyone, and it doesn't deserve the amount of hate that it gets, because, again, these are all people just trying to make enjoyable movies for the rest of us. And if you like them or not, you know, that's fine, whatever. But to attack these people personally and I just it's really frustrating, and especially because I've seen people online talk about how, like, oh, like, the reasons why, like Justice League was already starting to have problems or whatever is because, like, Ben was, like, drinking on set, and they don't, like, people saying ridiculous stuff.
Please stop making crap up.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
Like, what? Like you
can't, not like you were on set or anything.
Yeah,
exactly. Please stop just keeping the rumor mill going. You know, we don't need that.
Yeah.
So
I feel bad for Ben in particular.
At least Ben Affleck knows that fans love him. I saw an interview with him regarding that Sad Affleck video, you know? He was responding to this video, and he commented that when he met his fans on the street, they actually praised his Batman role, and he enjoyed the love that was shown to him from, you know, the people, not the press, not the critics, but from
his fans. Yeah.
And hopefully, I think it will inspire him to stick with this character further.
Yeah.
I hope so.
And I think he will too, because I think
my favorite part about DCEU casting is that when I see Henry Cavill, Ben Affleck, Gal Gadot in the costumes, I don't see an actor playing a character. I see the character becoming a Flash.
Same.
Yes.
Same with me.
Same here. Yep.
Yeah, and that's what, like, for Ben especially, like, from day one, people have been criticizing him. Like, and when we know when the announcement first came that he was announced as Batman, there was so much hate, and there were, like, all these online petitions to try to get Obama to get rid of him as Batman. And
I know, that's my favorite. Like, that dude's going, no, I don't have any power with that, guys. And
I know,
really?
like, well, because people, like, and again, like, and this was right after Argo and you know, Gone Baby Gone, all those movies he's done that were critically acclaimed and all this stuff, and, you know, Argo won Best Picture, and people were ignoring that, and they're like, oh, well, he made Geely, he did Jersey Girl, he did Daredevil, he was awful in all of those, so therefore he's a bad Batman. And yet, most of the people walking out of Batman vs. Superman, whether they liked it or not, most of them loved Ben Affleck as Batman.
Exactly.
Yep.
And that's
so glad he proved everyone wrong.
Oh, God,
I know. You go, Ben.
Go.
Like, yeah, and it's funny because, like, Ben Affleck is almost kind of, like, in a way, this isn't a negative thing, but almost, like, ruined every other interpretation of Batman for me, because, like, I was telling Katie last week, like, I was recently rewatching the Dark Knight movies, and I rewatched all of them, but now when I look at those movies, I can't, like, Christian Bale doesn't feel like Batman to me anymore. Like, Ben...
Same, and I love Christian Bale as Batman.
Me too. He was great. He was one of the best Batmans.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Yeah, and it's fun. But like, I think Ben embodies everything that Batman is supposed to be, like the detective, the terrifying creature of the night, and everything you would want Batman to be. He encompasses that, and that's why, like, it's so hard for me to go back in those movies because again, they're great movies. Don't get me wrong, but Ben Affleck is my Batman. He's the Batman to me, and that's why all this drama and stuff going on. I don't care because he was able to take this role and really kind of make it his own. And to me, he's the Batman from the comics. Like Christian Bale's again, we're fine, but when I look at him, I see the comic book Batman, the one that has years of experience and knowledge and all that stuff going into whatever he's doing. Whereas, like, with Christian Bale, so we had this discussion about how, like, for me, one of my problems with the Dark Knight movies is that, like, starting in the Dark Knight, he was kind of like ready to give up, and his mission wasn't. In the Batman Begins, his mission was very clear, but like in the Dark Knight and the Dark Knight Rises, I feel like his mission as Batman wasn't as focused. Like, he wasn't necessarily trying to save the city. He was kind of just trying to like stop being Batman to get with Rachel, and then when she died, he only kind of became Batman because he had nothing else going on in his life. You know,
which is not really like Batman at all. He just keep going no matter what.
Yeah. Yep. So, but like, I mean, again, those movies are great, but I think it's hard for me to look at those and say those are great Batman movies. I think they're just great movies because like,
they're a great movie trilogy featuring a Batman character. You're right. I don't know how to describe it, but it's like what a lovely journey for a character, but it's still not quite like Batman. You know, like it doesn't work once you get the Ben Affleck version and go, holy crap, that's Batman on screen. What? You know.
It's like if we take comic books, DCEU is the main timeline and Dark Knight trilogy is alternative universe story.
Oh, there you go. I'll go with that.
Let's just think of it that way.
I like it. Yeah.
Me too.
That's why, again, like when like looking at like this current version of Batman, I love that they didn't just go with another origin story and a younger Batman. That we have Batman with so much history, and that like he's dealt with the loss of a Robin already, and like he's older in his life, and he's more of like the Dark Knight Returns kind of Batman. But I'm glad that we get a Batman with experience because first of all he's very knowledgeable, and he's kind of makes him like, other than Superman, I would say like the de facto leader of Justice League alongside him and Wonder Woman.
Definitely.
Yep.
And that's why I'm glad like he's the character he is in this universe to be able to kind of help shepherd in these younger heroes and to kind of guide them while Superman's away or dead.
Yes. No, I love that they made him older. I will say with fair confidence that had this been like a Disney venture, they'd have made him young and hot, and Ben's not that old and he's still hot. But, I mean, they would have made him like early 30s, maybe at his oldest, and they just wouldn't have gone that much higher. And I don't know, it might have worked, and we've got that over and over and over again. And so to actually get a version that's not brand new, everybody knows his origin story, and we get enough of it to tie into this particular character, and let you know how long he's been doing it. But beyond that, man, that guy is tired. He's old. He's been doing this a long time. He's really jaded and cynical. I've never had the chance to see that Batman on screen before. I am delighted. And I agree that there should be different ages. They shouldn't all be in their 20s across the board and be the Justice League. That's just not real. Everybody's at different walks in their life. Everybody's at different stages. And I totally agree with the way they've arranged it, that Superman is gone, so Batman's going to go and kind of herd people up and make the Justice League. He should be older. He should be more experienced. He should be able, to do this and not be this 25-year-old hottie running around and getting other 25-year-old hotties to be in this club. It just feels different. I love it. It's a wonderful thing. And then you add in, like, Diana, who's, very much older and very much more experienced, and then you've got two really awesome, capable people to put together this team, which is why I just can't wait for this movie, man. I'm dying, you guys. November's so long.
So much more until November.
I want.
By the way, have you read the leaked description of the trailer that is going to be on Comic-Con?
In like 20 days, right?
Are we gonna talk leaks here?
I mean, we can.
Are we?
I'm gonna start screaming.
Yeah, it's funny, but like, it's for me. It's hard when I hear about all these like leaked trailer descriptions. I feel like for me personally, just from what I've seen, 9 out of 10, a lot of times they're not true. It just I feel like a lot of times they're just articles trying to get clickbait. But there are times where they're right, and because Comic-Con is so close, I wouldn't doubt that it's true. I mean, I haven't read the description verbatim, but I know there was the one where it teased like,
an evil
Superman. I don't know if that's the one. But because Comic-Con is so close, maybe there's some validity to it, but
yeah. It also had a good description in terms of like that was this latest one that came out this week was the one that I read and go, that sounds about right with everything else we've seen. The one before that was like, really? I just don't know if I buy that.
Superman smirk or whatever.
So, I'm sorry, what?
Was that the one that had like the evil Superman smirk thing?
Yes, yeah, it was we haven't heard a teensy bit about that, but okay, I don't know, it just felt weird. This next one, like things they're describing, I'm like, oh, we've already seen that in a different trailer. Okay, that would fit, and then this, and then this, and then this. I admit, with the Superman reveal at the end of this week, like, A, I'd be screaming if I got that trailer. B, I don't know if they'd play their hand like that quite so early, and so I honestly don't know. I admit, like, I read it and was like, oh, I would kill for that. I'm totally here. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't know if they will. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But I got really excited with this one.
To be honest, I think it's very possible to tease Superman in the upcoming Justice League trailer because there wasn't much stuff to get Superman fans exactly to be excited about Justice League. He wasn't even mentioned in the first trailer, not even a word, and we didn't get anything about Henry Cavill Superman in Justice League until these popcorn boxes popped out.
Yeah,
this is true. This is true, and I remember all of us were waiting, like when they were giving us the tiny little teasers before they released the trailer, and they're introducing character after character. We're like, okay, bring on the Superman, and they were like, yeah, there's not one of those. And, I remember we're all like, what? My boy, like, what? Okay, I understand, but still, so
we're all waiting. Yeah. And at the time, I love the fact that they released the first official trailer on the anniversary of the release of Batman vs Superman.
That was great.
Yes.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember that because all those were being released when Katie and then another friend of ours, Cassie, were doing the Batman vs Superman commentary.
That was fun.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I just remember, like, at the time, like, we were in the middle of watching it, and then, like, the Cyborg trailer dropped, and I'm like, oh my god, like,
We're in the middle of something, it's like, oh, wow, they're dropping stuff, holy crap. Yeah, that was so exciting.
Like, if they would have dropped the Superman one during that, I would have been like, hey, let's pause the movie, we're watching this.
Yeah, I'd have been right there with you.
But yeah, and that's what, just like, I'm so excited for Comic-Con, and I'm lucky enough because I live in San Diego, but also, like, I'm getting into Comic-Con for free because I'm volunteering.
Awesome.
Yeah, so and I don't know what my assignments are yet, but luckily I'm gonna be. So basically, I will just like volunteer in like one of the lines or something for a few hours, and then I literally have the rest of the day to do whatever I want. And I've been to Comic-Con a number of times, but the last couple of years I haven't gone because it's so impossible to get tickets these days.
Yeah.
Like it's like worse than like Disneyland in terms of trying to get tickets, especially since it's like a once a year thing. It's once a year. Like, it's just so hard to grab tickets, and, like, especially because, like, DC, I think, has owned Comic-Con every year for the last, like, basically since the DCEU started, DC's, like, owned Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, when it was, awesome. Like, the summer that Man of Steel was released, that's when they announced Batman vs. Superman, and they had a little, like, logo tease.
Yep.
And then the following year, no other big movies had anything where Batman vs. Superman had that little clip of Batman in his armored suit and then Superman in the sky, and then cut to black. And then the year after that, was just was 2000. Yeah, so that was then last year, that's when we got all of the awesome stuff between Justice League, Wonder Woman, and then of course the year before that we got the I think hands down the best DCEU trailer in the Batman vs Superman Comic-Con trailer.
Oh, I love that one. That one made me so happy.
Got me too.
There was a lot of screaming with that one. Yeah, I remember that.
And then in that trailer, like that's also the thing that sucks sometimes with the criticisms of the DCEU. People like say like, oh, they tease everything in the trailers and make it seem like you're gonna get something other than what you're gonna get, and blah blah blah. But I think that Comic-Con trailer for Batman vs Superman was so operatic, and it felt very much like you said, like Shakespearean kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what we got, and I think that was the most accurate portrayal of what we were gonna expect in the movie. And I loved that. To this day, it's still my favorite DCEU trailer.
Mine too. Mine too. And you're right. They were very much like, this is what it's going to be, And so if anybody had illusions, I don't know. Don't believe last minute promoing and stuff like that, because that's all put together by different people. I think the Comic-Con trailers are really more of a kind of a vision of what that film's gonna be. Even Wonder Woman's trailer last year was very much that, and that's still one of my favorites to this day. It was just so dang beautiful, and the way they put it together, and the very uplifting, inspirational music as they show her climbing a ladder for the first time, and I'm like, what is this? You know, like that's what we got. So yeah. You have to pay attention to trailers because, especially in this universe, you know, they actually do mean something a lot.
Yep.
Even the first 2 trailers of Man of Steel, when they released, you know, with Jonathan narrating and Joel.
Yes.
They were like, teasing about that this is going to be a story of a child of 2 different worlds.
Exactly.
Who has 2 fathers and 2 different cultures to combine in himself. And it was just, it blows my mind. I still watch these 2 trailers and I get these goosebumps because they're so emotional.
Yep, those ones and that second trailer. That's really good stuff. You're right.
I love all the Man of Steel trailers. My favorite would probably be one of the last ones they released, which like was the first one that had like the actual like score from the movie in it.
Ooh, that was good too.
Ooh, I love that one.
I love the build up because like that was getting your first taste of the score, and like for me, like I just I downloaded like the unofficial track of that, which is called like Ideal of Hope or something. And I've listened to that so many times. Like I know it's like a recut version of What Are You Gonna Do When You're Not Saving the World from the soundtrack.
Yeah, but it was cut for the trailer, so
But to this day, it's I just love the DCEU so much, and that's like
that music, that score right there for that Superman trailer was so, uplifting / heroic / you know, everything I would expect Superman to be. You know, that's why I don't complain either. I don't understand either why people want to complain about. But well, it's not the same as John Williams. Well, of course it's not. It's not done by John Williams, you know, like, of course it's not the same music. And my favorite's like when they just should have used that. Are you familiar to movies and their soundtracks and how each has a new one every time? Okay, but it really, like, that music, I mean, I agree. It's so beautiful. And they named it An Ideal of Hope. And that music embodies everything that Superman is in terms of an ideal of hope. That's what the whole freaking movie's about. And it's very uplifting to me. I don't understand how people could say, well, but it's not, you know, a true superhero theme. Yeah, it is. That's like a better Superman theme than Here I Am, I'm Superman. You know what I mean? Like, it really, I don't know. It moves me viscerally, see? You know, it gets me way deeper than just, oh, look, there's the hero, and he's got this awesome theme song because he's so awesome, and look, he's here and he knows he's awesome. You know, it moves me more.
Talking about the Superman themes and all the musical themes that Hans Zimmer uses are more, I don't know, more visceral, more well thought out than the John Williams themes. Like John Williams themes are obviously, they sound iconic, they sound like majestic and so symbolic. But you know, like the Hans Zimmer themes, like if you do a breakdown of the new Man of Steel theme, like the one with all the fists. Right, the one that they played during his first flight. Like you were comparing like how that he takes the same motif that was used in the John Williams version, like the C to the G, right? Which is the opening bars of the Superman motif by John Williams. But he takes that, he slows it down, and then he adds so much more depth to it. You know, he adds like this kind of deep emotional feeling to it by adding like the bass rather than having it just be loud and in major key. So that it can be adjusted, you know, like the way that it was adjusted during that montage of Superman saving people in Batman v Superman, where, you know, instead of resolving the musical theme, they actually stop from just before resolving it in order to show that, you know, he's not happy.
Exactly.
That sort of thing. You know.
Oh, bless you, woman. I've wanted to write music meta for so long, and I recognize all that too. It's like, oh my gosh, it's just so beautiful how they do it. Because you're right, they don't resolve it. The first time I listened to that soundtrack, I was like, what is this? What is this? You know, and then they go straight to a constant, with the low choir that's almost kind of a Gregorian chant type, you know, moaning, you know, and the constant, it kind of rises up in a wave and then it goes down, and it rises up in a wave and then it comes down, and you can feel the continual struggle to rise and then get pushed down again and struggle to rise, and you know, and that music right there is like, you've got to be kidding me. That is so glorious. It is such a beautiful thing.
Tells its own story pretty much.
Yes, yes, exactly, and it's so it's amazing, and something about the strings in the background and stuff always brings me back to I don't know why either. I don't know if it's a movie I saw somewhere or my brain just kind of put it together. I might be way off, but the string arrangement in there and how it rises up and stuff like that brings me back to like the struggle of the Israelites every time. And considering this is a Jewish, oriented superhero because it was created by two Jewish boys, it always just really speaks to me of that eternal struggle. It is just Anyway, Hans Zimmer, yes. He and Zack are like a match made in heaven because they're both visceral and Shakespearean, and I love them. So
I was listening to "Goodbye, My Son" music track from Man of Steel, and I was surprised to find out that the first part sounds like a lullaby, and it plays exactly during the moment when Lara says her goodbyes to her son, and it almost made me cry again during that scene because it was so deep and thoughtful from Hans Zimmer's side.
Yes, that's
which brings me to the point that I hope that the new Justice League trailer will have its original score in there.
Yeah, that's like another thing that sucks is that like just again we've talked about this ad nauseum, so I don't want to talk too long about it, but just Danny Elfman again. I hope he at least keeps the themes and can build on them.
Yeah, I want the themes the same.
Yeah, and that's why I'm hoping like maybe for the next standalone Man of Steel movie that Junkie XL is able to do that because we all know Junkie would be able to keep. That'd be cool. Yeah, he would be able to keep like the themes built from Hans, who Hans was one of his mentors.
Yep.
That's where like with Danny, like with Justice League, he's a great composer and everything, but it's just I just want those amazing DCEU scores to still be there. Like I loved Batman's score in Batman vs Superman. It felt very like dramatic and almost kind of scary. It has like horror elements to it. Like it's very, like Like whereas the Dark Knight theme was like it was very like dramatic and serious and like it's like kind of there, and that's kind of what that Batman was. And this one's a little more operatic, a little more like theatrical to him,
which is totally awesome because it's Hans Zimmer, and then and I love those scores, because it's Hans Zimmer and the man just rocks. And then he's like, oh, I don't know if I can do Batman again, I need some help, Junkie, help me out. But still, he manages to tap into the emotional core of this Batman, which is different than the trilogy's Batman, and he manages to make that work. Have you ever listened to, I don't remember what it's called, but on the BBS soundtrack, it's basically the one that plays it's the suite that plays through the credits at the end. If you listen to that whole thing,
the Still Good thing,
that's pretty much just the journey of Batman right there.
It really is.
I mean, it's like, oh, look, and here he's, oh, look, and now he's gone to a dark place. Oh, look, now when everything slows down and then it suddenly starts to speed up, and you're like, oh, things are going again. Like, that's pretty much just Batman in a nutshell. He caught that whole core and just made that, him. And, the man's wonderful.
Regarding the score, do you remember that music track from Batman v Superman that is called "Does the World Need Superman?" And it's a music track from the Batman's Nightmare sequence. And if you listen to it sounds like it's from a horror movie. Yep. And it tries to tell you that the world will be a scary place without Superman, without hope. And even this soundtrack, it's like a whole new philosophy in this movie, and you can talk about this forever, but I just wanted to bring this up.
No, you're totally right. You are totally right. And he does a beautiful job of encapsulating those messages, those ideas and stuff, which is why I really think he spends a lot of time talking to the directors, at least of these movies, and getting kind of their philosophy, their thoughts on it. Obviously, he did a lot of talking with Zack. I remember watching an interview with him where he talked about how he wasn't sure if he wanted to do Man of Steel because he just, was just finishing up Dark Knight Rises and was like, guys, let's back off me, man. I'm not ready yet. I'm still finishing this one. But when Zack came over and talked to him, he talked about the alienation and the feeling a child of two worlds who doesn't really feel like he belongs in either one and stuff like that. And that was what made him do it, because as a German who has now left his homeland long ago, his accent has adapted a bit. And then he got married over here, and his children have a straight-up American accent. So he doesn't really fit anywhere now, because if he went home to Germany, you know, which isn't really home anymore, but if he went back there, he would be obvious as a German who has left and learned a different dialect somewhere else, and it's been altered. And in America, he obviously has an accent, and we all go, oh, where are you from? You know, and he turns to his kids, they don't even have his accent. His wife doesn't have his accent. He recognizes just that kind of alienation idea of, okay, I understand what that can feel like. I definitely understand that. And then he starts writing on that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
so he gets so much of the emotional core. That's why his music speaks to me, because you can feel it in there, and it's not just, okay, we'll do a couple pretty lines here and then a couple pretty lines. I don't know. He just comes at it differently. And that other interview I saw where somebody asked him about that, they're like, well, how do you feel about, you know, like John Williams' theme is like this and yours is not. And he said, you know, I really try not to go for the, you know, here it is and it's big and wonderful and wow. It's more of a we're in the moment type of feeling with my music, and that is what I'm going for. And it was like, that's exactly it. And that's why his music works for me, because I do feel like I'm in the moment emotionally more than I do with other themes. So
yeah, the best touch that I ever heard from, and like personally that I ever heard about like the Hans Zimmer Man of Steel thing was that he wrote the Man of Steel theme without ever watching the movie, like before he watched the movie.
Good boy.
So, like what he said about movies is that he always, like before he writes for a movie, he will talk to the director to make sure to understand the director's vision of the story, and then he writes the music. And so once he's done with the music, then he meets the director and makes sure that, you know, like what the director has made is in line with the vision that the director presented, and that vision is in line with Hans Zimmer's own, so that the music itself is like, it's not so much like specific to whatever's happening in the scene so much as it's encapsulating what the whole movie itself stands for.
Yep.
And that's what makes like his movies like he writes his music just to suit that, his vision of what that character means and what that character is there for.
Yeah, and it speaks.
This is what is also amazing about DCEU, is that it gathers all these people. When you were talking about Hans Zimmer, I got thinking about that. It gathers all these artists, all these composers, screenplayers. Well, you got the idea. They gather all these amazing people, and they want to create not just a product. They like, we need to put ourselves into this movie in order this to be a relatable story. It's like they put their own experience into all this, and this is why the DCEU movies are so emotional as a result.
Yep. I love it. I really do.
Yeah, me too. And that's what, like, even if it's... See, like, my thing is, the scores matter so much to me because they are kind of like an extension of the story. And for me, when I'm listening to like the scores of Man of Steel or Batman vs Superman or even Wonder Woman, like I'm like taken back into that world. And I think not many movies can do that yet, because they're like very big and poppy and fun, but to me, like DCE films or like Hans Zimmer scores in general, to me, I honestly feel like like I said, like they're very much so an extension of the story and an extension of these characters in this world that you don't want to escape that, you know. At least that's my personal experience.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree. Yep.
Yeah, and so I just hope that Danny Elfman can again keep those original scores, but also build on those and build on the great scores that have already been there, and give us a great score for Justice League. It's just it's hard when we lose both Hans and Junkie so soon, because first of all, none of us were prepared to lose them, you know.
Yeah. Didn't see that coming. So.
I wish we at least got a proper explanation why they picked Danny Elfman exactly. Maybe he has some unique ideas. Maybe he can bring something unusual to the DCEU, but it happened so suddenly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially so soon
feeling.
after the announcement of Zack's departure that I felt like it was almost like in poor taste at the timing of the announcement. Granted, it had been like a little over a month, but like we're still so soon removed from that. So like that's where like for some of us it's starting to feel like, okay, maybe it does feel a little bit like Joss is starting to take over the production a little too much, you know?
Yeah. Right. I think the biggest thing for us in like Ben's announcement that he's not going to direct, and in this announcement that Zack had to step back, and then in the new announcement that we're getting new music and stuff like that, I think most of us can agree that like it's not, oh man, my world sucks. Oh gosh, I hate these guys for changing things, or why can't it all just be my way? It's more of we're worried now. There's just a general worry that comes out of it. That's like, oh, those things are changing, and we know what we can rely on, and now it's different. Crap! Don't change the thing that I love because it needs to be how it's always been. And so there's a great worry pervading, I think, all of the news. And I'm not about to scream that the universe is over and that it's going to be tank or that Justice League's going to suck, but we all have that general worry. That's not really going to be allayed until we actually get to see it and decide whether it made a difference, And so, November's so far away.
We just need something positive about DCEU regarding the news. Maybe that will help.
Yeah, I'll do my
best. Maybe.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, I'm so hopeful in the movie. I'm not looking forward to the movie or the score or anything. It's just to hear the stuff like back to back. And this year, it's like between losing Ben on Batman, and granted, we got Matt Reeves and he's taking over, and that's great. Of course, I'm loving all he's done with the Planet Apes movies and stuff like that. But with Joss, again, we kind of brought it up before. Like I enjoyed the first Avengers movie. I thought again the second one I thought was very problematic. And a lot of fans, especially like from what I've seen, like they don't want him directing Batgirl, first of all, and I'm not sure if I want him directing Batgirl.
As a Batgirl fan, like Batgirl and Nightwing were pretty much the reason why I fell so hard into like DC comics and stuff. Like I'm so worried because his Wonder Woman script, his original idea for Wonder Woman script has been circulating the internet lately, and it's absolutely horrifying.
It's awful. Yeah, I read.
Yeah, and the worst part is
that was some first draft that never got revised because otherwise it's just
the worst part is that you can see traces of that awfulness in his current work. Like you look at Avengers, look at the way Black Widow was treated in Avengers. Like it's exactly the same. It's like it is kind of fake feminism, and it's not fake, just like outdated feminism at the expense of women.
It's like almost like white feminism to it,
It was awful, and I'm so concerned. And I'm like, it's not that I don't think that he tries. I think that he's a talented director if when it comes to certain things, but not when it comes to specifically talking about women and talking about the experience of a woman, especially for Batgirl, because Batgirl, like she's very non-conventional as a hero. She's
got a lot of layers.
Inspired, and she's a different kind of determined than you would usually expect.
Yeah.
Right. And obviously she became one of the most iconic disabled superheroes ever. Historical. And like I'm just so concerned that they might just play that off for jokes. And Batgirl, she has the potential to be a sexy character, but the whole point is that she isn't.
Yeah. She is a strong woman that overcame this disability,
Yeah, and I'm scared that like Joss is just gonna turn her to the kind of typical
like he's gonna simplify it and make her almost into a stereotype.
And super like perky and sexy and flirts with Batman. Oh my god, I will die.
Oh god,
now he's getting flashbacks to the Killing Joke movie, and I don't want that. And like,
oh my god, the Killing Joke. Oh.
I know we've talked about that before. It's just, and especially as Batgirl fans, especially after the Killing Joke, none of us want to re-experience that pain and that. First of all, making Batgirl a love interest for Bruce, which was one of the dumbest things they could have ever done.
Oh,
God, she's like his child.
Exactly, he's like a father figure
I know.
to her, which is so gross looking at it.
I know, it's just, and again, I worry that like they would do something, maybe not necessarily to that degree, but making her like the affection, like again, maybe doing something with flirting with Bruce or whatever. Like I worry that we're not gonna get the Batgirl we deserve, and then we're just gonna get like like an MCU style version of Batgirl, which none of us want.
Oh God! Get me away from that.
Yeah, please no.
No.
Please
It'd be
reject.
so sad. Reject.
Yeah, really.
No.
Like I would rather, honestly, like I mean, granted, we haven't seen the movie, so we don't know what it's going to be. But I would honestly rather have no Batgirl movie than have a Batgirl movie directed by Joss, because at least, like, if she was going to be included in like the DCEU at some point, I feel like, or whether it's like Zack or Matt Reeves or whoever's directing, I feel like most directors
I would trust Zack Snyder with it.
Me too.
Zack Snyder is the best
and he's a
director for female characters ever.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
I would trust him with
Give me more gratuitous male nudity, no more butt shots of women.
It's funny because if you look at Zack's films, they're very much so like I think he's of all the current white male directors, I think he's the only one that directs women not sexualized and not stereotypical. He empowers women in his films, and that's why it's so frustrating.
The way a woman would shoot a woman, like you think about like the way Patty Jenkins shot Wonder Woman, and everyone's praising her for not sexualizing any of the women, despite the fact that they're all wearing all these like sexy outfits, right? Zack does exactly the same thing, but people just don't seem to notice because he's too dark or whatever.
Yeah, they're too busy trying to hate on him. But I agree, that's exactly the same, because if you look at Batman vs. Superman, that whole fight with Wonder Woman, there's just no sexualization of it, Like, she's busy fighting. She's busy enjoying herself. I was delighted when the costume came out, because it was like, holy crap, we're not even looking down her cleavage. Like, look at that great band that goes across the top, and you can't see down it. Awesome, let's do this thing.
Yeah, even the part of Batman v Superman where, like, she's literally lying down, and you kind of like get a kind of lying down shot of her thighs and stuff, and like you could have gotten a panty shot or something, if you were a more disgusting director, you could have gone for that.
Exactly.
But you didn't. The focus is still on her face. Like, even Lois, Lois in the bathtub.
Oh, I was going to bring that up too.
Lois is the one who is naked, and yet the one who is being sexualized.
Did they sexualize Clark more than her?
It never felt sexualized to me, which was great.
You're right, though. It's funny because she's sitting in there, and I watch it every time, and I'm like, man, that camera just doesn't leave her face. Like, it doesn't trail across her legs, it go over her
trail over Clark's abs.
Yeah, but see, exactly. He takes his shirt off, and the camera's like, check out this guy, and we're all like, yeah, we're taking You are very right, but I appreciate the fact that he's not just going with the standard thing like that. I've heard tales of him directing Sucker Punch and where he just doesn't do that, and it's like, thank you, like the whole scene that he changed, the whole sex scene, because they were okay with it looking less consensual than it actually was, to get the PG-13 rating, and he changed it so much. It was like, no, this is no, and he just cut the whole thing. Yeah, and it was like, I really respect that. Thank you, Zach. Thank you very, very much.
Especially, like, I feel like on Tumblr, like, you don't see very many, like for Tumblr being so like feminist and like so like liberal. They don't look at. I feel like Zack Snyder's so underappreciated in that aspect.
Yeah.
Like, so many people look at him like, oh, just another male director. Like, I remember there was a feminist post and that included all of his female characters, and someone's like, I'm all for feminism, but why is Zack Snyder involved in this? They're like, what? Have you ever seen his movies?
A big feminist.
Yeah, it's embarrassing because instead I swear they look at it and they're like, oh, she got saved once, or twice, or 30,000 times, but that's Lois. She runs into danger. This is what she does, so obviously she can't be feministically portrayed in any single way because she's a damsel in distress. Even though, she drives the plot, she finds the answers, she, like, she does all these amazing things, but it doesn't matter because if she got saved, she's out. She can't be. Yeah,
people overlook that stuff.
They do. And then it's the same with Wonder Woman. Well, she fights, and we see her legs, we see her thighs. Oh my gosh, really?
Oh my god, no armpit hair. How unfair.
Oh god.
Exactly. Oh well, obviously,
she doesn't have armpit hair while lifting a tank over her head.
But you guys, like, it kind of makes me sad. It really does. If a lot of other directors had their way, Martha would be kind of some hot Marissa Tomei type character. She'd be Clark's mom, but hey, she'd still be hot because you got to have every woman be hot. And that's just not how he goes. And I really, really appreciate that.
Don't forget Favora.
Oh yeah,
you're right.
Oh yeah,
awesome character.
Badass.
I love her so much. I would totally have her back for a sequel, please.
and also, any supporting characters in any of the movies I've seen of his, I feel like pretty much all of them, I think most of them are pretty badass characters. Even going back to Watchmen and Silk Spectre, like both like her and her mom in that movie, or Man of Steel, you have Lois and you have Carrie Ferris, you have Feora, you have Lara, you have all these amazing female characters. Where is the That's why I absolutely hate the comparison of Zack to Michael Bay. That's my
God, me too. That pisses me off so much. I was like,
the day I checked out on Michael Bay was during, I think, the very first sequel of Transformers, when they had the chick who was hot and then turned out to be a machine, and just the angle of her butt as she was like across the bed, about ready to attack. I was like, oh, I'm out, because it was so very obviously, sex shot. Like, it was like any dude is going, wow, this is better than my Playboy. I could fantasize to this, and that's not what I'm here for. I'd really like a good story, please. That means more than anything else. No,
and even I think the reason why Megan Fox even got the role was because she washed Michael Bay's car. She had to do it in a bikini. Yeah, so something super.
I'm sure she did, or the really short shorts.
Yeah, and it was so disgusting. He is honestly such a disgusting human being. That's why, when people go out and support the Transformers, it's like, oh, it's just dumb action, and yet no one's really, other than hardcore movie fans, no one's really criticizing the Transformers movies. But yeah, you look at DCEU movies, everyone's like, oh, they're just too dark, so therefore they don't matter.
What?
Yeah. So you give a pass to horribly sexist and racist films.
Yeah,
it's okay. I will also say I love Carrie Ferris. I love how she's just present in the background, but she's capable and strong and moves up a rank, and you know what I mean? She's just always there. Awesome. And she's not dressed to be amazingly sexy and the hot secretary to the general or anything like that. No. She's got her own rank. She's got her own business. She thinks Superman is hot. Who doesn't? That's fair. But she just feels like a person to me, and I really appreciate that.
And that's what another reason why I love the DCEU so much, and that it's so I'm so drawn to it, and the fact that it's so feminist and so inclusive of so many different cultures and types of people.
And
you don't get you wouldn't get that. You don't get that in the MCU. When was the last time you saw a Native American character in the MCU?
Exactly. I don't think I've seen
it.
We already have two Native American characters.
Holy crap! I love Chief.
4 movies in, and we have 2 Native American characters. We have a African American female villain. When will Marvel ever?
Never. Look,
when will they ever?
No, they pushed back Captain Marvel for another Spider-Man movie.
Really?
That's embarrassing. I know they pushed it back for Ant-Man in the first place, and it was but nobody really screamed for Ant-Man.
Again
okay,
for
go ahead, sure, if you wanna, that's whatever.
And talking about sexualization and Spider-Man, have you seen the new Aunt May? Seriously?
Yes!
That's
kind of why I said Marissa Tomei.
But then Marissa Tomei, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with Marissa Tomei. It's the way that they're portraying her to be so sexualized, and from the first time we saw her in Civil War, and Iron Man was talking about how hot she was, and I'm so that's all that gonna make Aunt May be. It's
so creepy.
Yeah.
I liked the Superman before that when Sally Field was playing the role, because she felt like
she was such
a good age. She brought a lovely part to it. She just did a nice job with it. Sally Field is awesome, but and she was a good age for it. I've never seen her portrayed in the comic books as this amazingly. Well, I don't know. I guess I don't read comic books, but all I remember is the little old lady with the white hair in the comics. That's all I remember. That's all she ever was.
Yeah,
and why are you trying to make her hot?
Sexualized,
There's more to people than whether or not they're hot. There just is.
Exactly.
There's more sex. Please, come on, guys. Put up substance. It's okay.
Okay, to play devil's advocate a bit, I understand, if how old were Peter Parker's parents if he has an aunt who's a grandma at that point? That
this
aspect I get.
This is true.
I don't mind having a younger aunt, Aunt May. But it's the way they're portraying her they're making her so sexualized to the point where it bothers me. It's taking me out of the like.
And I think that's the big part is that like take Carrie Ferris. You know, she's to me a good character. I like her very much and stuff like that. And I am not bashing the actress at all. So please don't take this wrong. But you don't look at her and go, "Wow, she's hot. Oh my gosh, she's so sexy." Like because she's not made up to be that way. She's made up to be a career military woman who wears a full, BDU set or a military uniform. Does her hair nicely for thing. Nothing about her makes her amazingly hot and sexy. She's a good-looking woman. She's also a good-looking military woman that might shoot you, and that makes her a real character, a real person, and not just this kind of sexy scoreboard chick who walks across and or Vanna White, who is there only to look really nice and maybe turn something around. And so that I think that's what you're trying to say, Nick, is that it's like Aunt May is Aunt May, and she should be Aunt May first, and not this sexy woman who is Aunt May.
Isn't there that whole discourse about how Superman like Zack Snyder has made the DCEU more inclusive in this particular way, in which he casts older women in roles which like Hollywood would usually like DH to give to younger women, just because women seem to have like a sell-by date. Like once you hit 35 or 40, like you can't play lead roles, you have to play supporting roles. And if you're playing a supporting role, it has to be like a motherly kind of role. Think about Aunt May. Like in order to make her a more central, more active character, they have to DH her and make her hot and sexy. Whereas like in the DCEU, we have like Lois Lane, who like Amy Adams was like in her late 30s when she was in her 40s at the time of Batman v Superman, and she's a whole 8 years older than Henry Cavill, which is like it never happens in movies. We were talking about like movie age gaps and how the men are always older than women. Like think about like like Tony Stark. Think about like every single male hero. Like think about James Bond. The actor.
You can have a 50-year-old man or a man in his 50s, and have the woman be in her 20s, and somehow that's okay.
The roles are reversed.
That's why I'm like for Catwoman, the movie, if she ever shows up in like I don't know, Gotham City Sirens or in the Batman movie, like I really want her to be about the same age as Ben Affleck or maybe even older.
Me too.
To show that maybe she's been with Batman the whole time. Like they have a history together, rather than having her be some like new hot addition to the universe.
Agreed. And I would want that, considering this movie universe. He's got so much history behind him. It would be ridiculous if she hadn't shown up by now.
And he even make reference to this in Batman v Superman, right? I've known women like you.
It's interesting to point that in that new DC intro before Wonder Woman, Catwoman is one of the front characters.
Yes. I was like, Catwoman.
Yes. I can't wait until that's released in HD so we can pick apart who's all there.
I'm waiting for that.
And then you got like Hawkman, Hawkgirl, Jessica Cruz, Green Lantern.
Yeah, there was a lot that I recognized. Actually, I'm getting better on my on my DC knowledge. I'm like, I know half of these guys.
I love these people.
I just hope that new Justice League trailer will start with this DC intro, so we can have it.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
I could just like watch that on repeat all day, and that would.
I love that intro.
Yep. Speaking of women in their 20s or the sell-by date, though, it's a bit of a side track. Sorry, but I will say I really, really, really appreciate how Patty Jenkins has just fallen perfectly in place with Zack. Like they seem to have a very similar mindset, because they're like, why didn't you cast a whole bunch of beautiful, young chicks for Amazons? And she's like, because that's not the point. The point is
women
that
of all ages,
and they're all different sizes, and they're all different, strengths and everything.
And they're all athletes.
Exactly.
She has like the top athletes from around the world.
Thank you so much, Patty. And I think in a lot of ways that's why she got the part of director, is because that's why she got that job, is because Zack could recognize that kind of similar sense in her of okay, she's gonna keep going on the things that I'm already trying to build, and not just turn around and try to do it her way and cast like 20-something-year-olds, and I don't know, some women
Joss
directors somewhere
Whedon,
would do.
my God.
You know, but she is so perfect for the DCEU because she fits what they're already doing. You know, here you go, normal ladies, and you know, and all different shapes and sizes, all different ages, all different races, all different everything. You know, we don't need to worry about that. You know, the guy who plays Chief, Eugene Brayrock, talked about how she had him pick out his costume because she wanted to make sure that it would fit his culture
authentic.
and what he would thought, you know, would truly work, because he knows way more about that than she does. You know, like, this is the kind of stuff I could see Zack doing, and I'm not trying to give him credit for her movie because that's her movie and it's beautiful, but I do give him credit for helping with the choice because I think she fits this universe so well that it works, you know, to just bring her online, you know, and it's just, I love that she's there, and I hope she does more because she fits beautifully with what Zack has already set up, and that makes me so happy. So she's awesome.
She really is. And that's what, like, all the directors they've chosen for the DCU, bringing their own sense of unique style, but also love to be able to build on what's already been established. Like, they're not like, oh, I'm just gonna take this character and do whatever I want and not care what came before it. No, like, Patty very much so, like, she worked so well with Zack, and you know, Zack was there on set with them, and while she was making the movie, and then just seeing what all these directors are doing with each other in terms of, like, taking little bits from their previous directors and like, oh, what's cool here, and then I'll just build upon that instead of just like, this is my own standalone movie and it's not going to really connect to anything, or I love all of these directors so much, and that's why, like, I look forward to, you know, Aquaman and, you know, and the Batman and all these other movies. Like, again, Batgirl aside, I'm looking forward to pretty much every film in the DCEU. And that's why, you know, it's funny, speaking of directors, you know, there's this whole debacle right now going on over at Star Wars with, you know, the young Han Solo movie, because they just lost their directors, like 3 weeks left with filming.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, what do you think of the rumors of those directors coming to the Flash?
That's what I was gonna bring up, because they were originally on board to they were writing the original script for the Flash, and they were in talks to direct, but then they were offered Star Wars, and then they kind of stepped back, and then that's when, like, the initial director for Flash was announced, and then he came off, and then the guy who directed Dope came off. But honestly, I really enjoyed the Lego Movie. I've really enjoyed 21 and 22 Jump Street, and for knowing the kind of, even for what we've seen in a little bit of Suicide Squad and the Justice League trailers and stuff, I think for this version of Barry Allen, Lord and Miller, I think would be pretty good fits for what they're doing, and I think they would work
is this rumor or is this real? I'm so sorry, I have not heard this. Or is it a rumor at this moment? Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's a.
That's a really interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that actually, and how very interesting. Okay, I do agree though. Barry's much more light and happy, and has the comic relief vibe already in Justice League, which I totally love. And so this could be really interesting. I do take issue with the idea if they were going off script and improvising too much, then it's like, you can't do that, guys. There's nothing wrong with improvising, but you can't do it so much that you end up changing the script around it. You know, that gets to be a problem. So, but again, those are all rumors.
But I think also, with them coming on, I think they'd be more willing to play ball for Warner Brothers because they've already worked with them before working on the Lego Movie, and the Lego Movie was so successful. And
that was a really good movie.
Yeah, it was. And
I love that.
And if they were able to bring that kind of style and those kind of emotional sensibilities to the Flash, I think they would work pretty well, even if they're maybe not quite as much improvisation, but maybe keeping that style and, like, again, humor that fits the character and the story, not to pander to the audience. I think I think they would be really, really good fits, and I think they're going to end up being our directors for The Flash. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think because after the whole Han Solo thing, it came out that, like, they've already talked to Warner Brothers about coming in to direct, so...
Okay. Honestly, I just want to see something announced, and I want to know that thing is going to get done. Like, you know, at this point, I'm like, please just give us an announcement, get it in stone, and get this movie going. You know, we got great cast members just cooling their heels, waiting to do this film. Please do it. So, yeah. At this point, I agree. I will take it. Do it, man. Just give me the movie, man. I'm tired of hearing about how it keeps stalling. I want to hear it's in production. I want to know when it's going to be released. Let's do this thing. So,
it kind of sucks. I think Aquaman's going to be the only DCEU movie to come out next year. You know, and
I'm so bummed.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably gonna be great, and I have no doubt it's gonna be great. But it sucks because so far, we had 2 movies last year. We have 2 movies this year. I mean, 1 movie is fine considering we went a few years without a movie from 2013 to 2016.
We can handle it, but we're greedy, and 2 a year is always better than 1.
But I think in terms of what's going on right now, I think we're more than likely and gonna end up at least. I think the Batman's gonna be 2019. The Flash may if they announce a director in the next month, I would say that's also on track for 2019, and they might even do Gotham City Sirens that year, if not the next year.
Ooh.
That'd
be cool. Forgot about that.
Yeah, and they're also developing, a Cyborg standalone, Green Lantern Corps, stuff like that.
Yes, I would like a Cyborg standalone. Please. I know that was in the future, and I knew that they, they're not cementing it yet, but it's on the lineup, and I'm like, would you please go ahead?
That and Green Lantern.
Give me that. I want that. I'm really excited to meet him, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to get down and be like, oh, new child of mine, and I need a movie right the heck now. So yeah.
Yeah, that's how I'm not holding my breath for an announcement at Comic-Con, but I would appreciate not even just at Comic-Con, just an announcement of what is officially slated to come out, and then a lot of my worries will be settled for the time being. Because I'm not necessarily just super worried, but I just would like some certainty, because it sucks to have to look forward to these movies and not know when they're going to come out at all.
Yes, yeah. We would like dates, which is why so I agree, but I'm totally here for Aquaman, so we'll be there.
I am happy, at least, again, play devil's advocate, I am kind of happy that at least they haven't announced all these dates and everything's been, shifting around, because that looks even worse.
Yeah.
But also, I do wish that we would have something set in stone, you get to that release date, and then there's no, pushing off, whatever. Give yourself enough time to make the movie, and go from there. Yeah. That's just, yeah. So, was there anything else anyone else wanted to bring up?
No, I was just gonna say I'm pretty sure we can all agree that we just want more. Give it to us now, please. So, but we're not greedy.
Yeah.
I just hope we will see some casting reveals on Comic-Con regarding Green Lanterns.
Yeah.
Who will play?
Bring him into the DCEU already.
He's been trolling fans so hard on Twitter.
It's funny. It wasn't even he was asked about it and he rejected it or anything. It's just that he thought it would be funny to mess with his fans by just not telling us, and just going, oh sure, I'm totally the Green Lantern, guys. Haha. And he even got other people on it, his friends went on his Instagram and said good luck for Green Lantern, bro, and stuff like that. What is going on?
Or even Henry teased Green Lantern in a couple of posts of his, I think.
Yes.
So,
I've seen both of them.
Yeah.
I why?
He wrote something along the lines that he needs to work out more in order to be bigger than Green Lantern. So who it can possibly be if the actor might be bigger than Henry Cavill?
I don't know. Other than The Rock, I don't know who else, because The Rock's already going to be
Armie
Black Adam.
Yeah.
Armie Hammer.
He's not big muscle wise, but he's taller.
He is taller.
He's bigger. If he starts working out for the role, I can totally see that. And honestly, it wouldn't surprise me at all. Henry's such a turd to just go on there and say that as a total dig towards Armie. I'm already working out, and you're not announced. So and who knows? Maybe with Armie, I kind of love the story how he was I just kind of people asked me about Man from U.N.C.L.E. 2, and I was like, oh yeah, we're working on that, and everybody was like, really? And then he calls up people and goes, yeah, I kind of might have told him that we were doing a sequel, and they were like, we can get on that. And so it just kind of rolled into place and happened. Maybe he's hoping that this will be the same way. If he just hints on it enough, then it'll just become a thing, and then he'll be Green Lantern. And I admit, I'd totally be here for it.
Okay, me too. And that's why
it was great with Henry, so it's good.
I loved Man from U.N.C.L.E. I think Man from U.N.C.L.E. is a super underrated movie.
Agreed.
Yes,
agreed.
It's amazing. I'm so glad we're getting a second movie if it happens.
Me too. I was afraid we were going to be sequel-less forever.
Yeah. They had such a good dynamic.
They really
had a good dynamic, and it was really. It's funny. I watch it, and I think nowadays we've been a little bit spoiled and a little bit corrupted by because the movie industry has changed so much. now the big tentpole things are really the main focus, and they have to be big, and they have to have lots of explosions and lots of, insanity and in-your-face stuff and everything. And Man from U.N.C.L.E. really felt like a callback to when more movies were being made, and you still had your tentpole flick, but there were more movies made in between. There was more to choose from. There was more to go to, and that feels like the films that I grew up watching. I'm making myself sound 80 here, but when I was young, even I was really into classic films and older films, and films in the 70s, films in the 80s and stuff, way back before digital age and before heavy special effects. And many of them were just really nice, adventures that might have had some things blow up here and there, stuff like that, but were not as in your face, over the top. And that's what that one felt like. And I couldn't believe watching it. I was like, what? This is the movie that people aren't going to see? Why are they not going to see this? Because this is a film that totally reminded me of growing up, watching all those older movies that had some substance to them, had good storytelling, and just had really nice style all the way through. And it's very underrated, and I was sorry to see that. I was like, why aren't people going to this movie? What's wrong with you? Because it's not every movie is a big blockbusting,
it wasn't Mission Impossible,
digital effect in your face fight scene all the time, things blowing up thing. Sometimes it could just be a really awesome film about two spies who don't like each other.
It's very simplistic.
And a really awkward one who can't tell the girl he liked her. I'm down with this. So, sorry, go ahead, Nick.
No, I was just saying, it's a very simplistic premise, but it's such a nice, again, callback to older spy movies, and it's just there's something very almost warming about it. It felt like you've seen the story before, but there's something still kind of new. It also had to do with Guy Ritchie and his style.
Yes, that's very much his style, and I'm okay with that too. I like his style.
Yeah, and I wouldn't mind if he was brought into a DCEU movie at some point. So who knows?
Yep, it was just great, and I have to say, I sat down and I'm like, okay, we're watching this. My husband and I are sitting there, and I'm like, oh, this is cute so far. No, I'm liking this. This is good. And you're right, it was a callback to all the spy movies of the age. The style and the panache and everything. And then that scene hits where he falls out of the boat and gets in the truck. I'm sorry, that scene kills me every single time because it's completely nonverbal, and he's just sitting here watching, you go back and forth, and try to obey it, something like that. And then there's the basket, and it's when he takes off the napkin and realizes what's in there, and he goes, and just starts eating, has a nice drink, listening to beautiful music. That whole thing made me laugh so hard. It was really awesome acting at a really great moment. And then, of course, when he goes to leave and it's like, crap. And then, goes and drives in and saves him. I'm like, okay, see, this is a true buddy, type film where, two enemies become buddies. They can be cops or spies. It doesn't matter. It was great. I had such fun with it. And the acting was just on point. All of it was just great. So it was, I was so sorry to see people sleeping on that film.
I know. And also, I want to say, the ending scene when they all find out they have to work together still. They're all, throwing a little fit.
I love that, because they all have their little, what the heck moment, and Gabby's just sitting there buffering. That was my favorite. She's like, what?
Again, they all had such great chemistry too. Between Alicia Vikander, Henry, and Army, they all did such a great job. Seriously. And when Napoleon brings up Ilya's history, and really tick him off, because they're busy measuring dicks, as Lois would say, and everything, and really pisses him off. You can hear the thunder in his ears and everything, and the whole raids take over, and then he flips the table, and Henry just slides that cup right off the table before it goes. It's the smoothest motion I've ever seen. And then he gives him that look like, two can play this game, and I'm like, oh, you guys suck. I love this movie so much, So I hope that Armie talks enough and gets himself into the role.
I heard the rumors that Armie Hammer might play Shazam. There were some news around the internet that
I heard those.
Dwayne Johnson commented that Armie can be a great Shazam actor for Shazam character.
He could.
Also,
go ahead.
There is this a little bit of history. Billy Batson, the little boy who transforms into Shazam, he is a kid and he doesn't have a grown-up version of himself. And Superman is his idol. So when he shut out Shazam word and transforms into this grown-up superhero, he transforms into a grown-up who is similar to Clark Kent in the meaning of looks.
Yeah.
And so, do you think it is possible that Henry Cavill might play actually Shazam character?
I don't
Since
think so. I
he
think that would be a
resembles.
little too confusing for audiences. That's I've had the discussion in the past because, like, I mean, Henry's a great actor. Don't get me wrong, but I think you can't have, especially within the same franchise. I don't think it would work out to have one actor play two different characters within the same franchise. I think that's a little confusing. And then when they're both leading heroic characters, I think that's a little tricky. Like, Army, I think is a good choice, but oddly enough, I think Channing Tatum would probably be a good choice because
yes.
No, because
Channing Tatum in the DCEU 2K18.
He's very much like as a little boy stuck in a grown man's body, and I feel like Channing Tatum, I think he could do that because I think he's proven in 21 and 22 Jump Street that he can be silly and over the top, but when he can have those like serious and kind of emotional moments, I think. And when he has that kind of like sensibility to him, that like immatureness to him, because those are the kind of roles he's played. I think he'd be a pretty good fit, and he has the physique for it too. So I think Channing Tatum or Armie Hammer for me, those are probably my top two choices.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Personally, I see as Hal Jordan an actor who played Cyclops in X-Men franchise. I don't remember his name.
Oh, James Marsden.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think he might be a great Hal Jordan.
Maybe. Well, he played Lois Lane's fiance in Superman Returns, I remember, and he's also Cyclops.
Yeah.
Oh, did he? I just remember him as the singing prince in Enchanted.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah, me too.
Which was really funny.
He was also one of the androids in Westworld series.
Oh yeah. I just heard that. I've been
interesting.
wanting to watch that show, but that's I've been so busy. It's hard to get into stuff like that. But he could be. It's just there's so many actors who can play Hal Jordan so well. So like as fans, we can speculate all day about who can play him, and it sucks. And oddly enough, if the Green Lantern movie was better, I would probably say I wish Ryan Reynolds would stick around. I thought he was pretty good, to be honest.
Yeah, he's pretty
I thought he
solid,
was
I
good.
think.
It was the movie around him that was
lacking.
Yeah.
But his portrayal was fine, you know.
Yeah, and that's like
yeah.
And again, and I think it just Green Lantern could be like almost like the Guardians of the Galaxy kind of feel of the DCEU if they were given to the right directors with the right script.
Yeah.
And I think it could wind up being like a great like space opera kind of thing, as long as it.
Yeah.
I think it's better if it stays in space, because I think the best parts of the Green Lantern movie were when it was dealing with the Green Lantern Corps and all that stuff, because like the human villain in that was really bad, and some of the human dialogue just in Amanda Waller and that wasn't all that great. It was just that movie was kind of a mess, but I still find enjoyment in it. But I'm looking forward to a new interpretation. And
I remember there were some talks about that the new Green Lanterns movie will be something like a Lethal Weapon in space.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Starring Hal Jordan.
Yeah, I heard that too.
That could be fun. I gotta say, I was excited about the multiple Green Lanterns, with it being a core.
Oh, yeah, me too.
I know the basic Hal Jordan, but then I watched the Justice League cartoons, and Jon Stewart, is that him, right?
Yep.
I love him. He is great. So I'm like, please bring him on. And so it's really exciting to know, okay, so they're not limiting it down just to one. We might get more than one. I'm totally here for that. And I think it would be really, really cool. So, yeah.
Jessica Cruz.
Yeah, no, I love Jessica Cruz.
That'd be cool.
She is amazing.
Or
and
even Simon Baz too. Yeah, like just,
awesome.
They're both people of color. It'd be great to see more.
Oh, that would be cool.
I could do without Guy Gardner
totally
though.
There more than one. So yeah, that was really exciting. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I'd much rather see Jessica Cruz or Simon Baz than Guy Gardner. That's just all I gotta say.
Oh yeah, definitely. Nobody likes Guy Gardner.
Well, because he's always played out to be a jerk, and I know he has a hero qualities. But I don't know. He's just because anytime I see him in like animation or whatever, he can be a good character. It's just I always see so much of like the in your face, trying to be funny, look like he's really just being a dick. It's just.
Well, yeah, even in the comics, he's like that.
Yeah.
It's like that's his character.
Like
it makes it hard to like him. He's almost like the Iron Man or the Tony Stark of DC, and that's
Yes.
yeah.
We've got enough Tony Stark. We don't need another one.
We don't need a ginger Tony Stark. Yeah, so that's pretty much all I have to say, unless you guys had anything else you guys wanted to bring up.
I think
I'm good, I think.
Yeah, I mean, wow, this is a really long... We're talking almost 2 hours already.
You get us going, and we
you
just
don't
can't stop.
I know. I feel like that's always how it ends up being. Like, it's like, oh, we have a nice little discussion. It turns into like a 2.5 hour thing. And that's what's fun about doing these too, is that like I feel like it's just I like being able to talk about the stuff I love with all of you guys, because we're all fans and we all just want to enjoy what we see in these movies, and to be able to talk to each other about this sort of thing and just be positive and spread positivity. And I love that we've been doing this podcast for a few weeks now, and I'm glad to get to talk about all this stuff with you guys. You guys are all awesome.
Same
here. Same. Thanks. Yeah, same.
And I'm glad
I can't have the. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I can't have these kind of conversations with my normal friends because they'll just be like, "What are you talking about?"
Same.
Right? Okay. Yeah. I'm like, okay, all right. I can't talk to you guys anymore. Bye.
You just don't get what I'm saying, man. Exactly. You don't love it as much as I love it. You know. Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, and again, like, for me too. Like, I mean, like I have like other than like my little brother, it's hard for me to talk about like this kind of stuff with anyone, because again, like most people I know, unfortunately, are all Marvel movie fans, so I can't really talk about like these movies with them, because they're like, oh, well, those movies kind of suck. I'm like, ugh. Like,
okay,
one of those stations over. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, yep. I'm just gonna go now.
Peace.
But yeah, I'm just glad. But again, I'm just glad we're able to be in an environment where we can just talk about all these things and not feel judged, or we can just be ourselves and just talk about all this stuff, because it's just I just love being able to for all of us to be able to express ourselves in a way that we aren't, again, talking down to one another or trying to say our opinions better than anyone else.
Yeah.
That's not what we're saying at all. We're just fans of the DCEU, and we just love talking about these movies because we resonate with them on so many different levels. And whether we have good opinions or we're worried about things, that's just because we care a lot about these characters and this world that Zach, Patty, David, and Matt Reeves are all building, and we just want to see this universe succeed. And I think so far it has, and that's why I'll always love to talk about the DCEU every week or every day if need be.
Right.
Yep. And it's so amazing that we all come from different points of Earth. It shows how wide the connection of DCEU is. Transpasses among the people.
Yep.
Yeah, and then, again, that's an awesome thing too. Is that like we're all like I'm from San Diego. You got someone from Russia, someone from from different parts of the country and the world.
It's amazing.
It is amazing to be able to connect with all of you guys. And again, and thank you for for a couple of you. It's like super early in the morning.
Yeah, it must be like 5 or something over there. 5 a.m.
Bless you, woman.
6 a.m.
How are you not sleepy yet?
I was going to say, how are you not asleep? I would be asleep.
No, the reason why I was late is because I was asleep. I just woke up.
You sounded a bit asleep when we first called you. I'm impressed you woke up and answered, though. Did good.
I know, and I'm glad we're able to all get ourselves together, because I know it's hard when we're all in different time zones and trying to line up each other's schedules when it's... I know, but so thank everyone seriously for being able to do this. It's always an honor, seriously.
Yeah, it's fun.
Thanks for taking time out of your schedules, guys. We know it's a sacrifice. We do.
But first of all, thank you, Nick, for gathering us all together. It was your idea in the first place, so thanks.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, it's no problem. And again, I just wanted, especially after having so much fun doing the commentaries and stuff with Katie and everything, I'm just like, why not be able to include more people who want to talk about this stuff and see who else wants to geek out for 2 hours and just talk about the DCEU. And then this is our 3rd episode now, and I think we've gotten a pretty positive response, and just seeing some of the stuff in the comments and just like on Tumblr and stuff, people like again, our fans are fans of the DCEU are all over the world, and it's so nice to be able to express our love and support of the DCEU with one another in such a positive way, and I wouldn't trade that for anything else.
Yes.
Yep. No. Yeah.
Agreed.
So I think with that being said, that's probably going to be it from all of us here. So if you guys want to go around, maybe again kind of reintroduce yourselves. If you guys want to talk about where you guys can find you guys online.
I'm Katie. I'm Story Advocate on Tumblr.
I'm Lily. I'm on Lily Loves Comics on Tumblr.
I'm Jean. I'm from Batch Activity on Tumblr.
I'm Artyom, and I'm Grey Kung Lao on Tumblr.
And of course, you guys can find me here at Nerdy Nick on YouTube, True Man of Steel on Tumblr. That's where I do a lot of my DCEU thoughts and opinions and rants and things of that nature. You can find me at Nerdy Nick on Twitter as well. And thanks you everyone for listening, and thanks this awesome group of people here for joining me as always. And thank you everyone for listening. For everyone listening, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure doing this stuff. And we'll see you all next time. And thank you guys all for joining me. Have a great one.